Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. It wasn't a defeat yesterday, ladies and gents, but for some, and if you read social media, it might feel like the end of the world. But the Reds are still in a title race. There's still a lot to come. There's the Europa midweek, there's Palace on Sunday, and we will have to talk in depth about yesterday. And here to join me as ever is the renowned and the respected David Lynch. I probably know where this is going to go, David, but as the usual question, how are we?
Yeah, quite down about that one, to be honest. Don't think there's a lot of positives to take from the way it turned out, really. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it all. But it's, no getting away from the fact that was extremely disappointing yesterday, really. And it's one that you worry might cost Liverpool going forward.
Is that what you reckon it is? Because we just talked before we came on. It wasn't a defeat, but it feels like it. And we've seen Liverpool beaten on rare occasions this season, and probably Twitter or social media, wherever, has been more upbeat. Do you think it just is what it might mean in the context for everything? That's what's the real sting at the moment.
Yeah, I think it always feels worse when you lose control of the title race. I mean, Liverpool know now that they could win all 7 of the remaining games and still not win the title if Arsenal do the same. And that is really sort of hard to get your head around, particularly when Arsenal look as good as they do at the moment. They very much look like a side that could go and win 7. I mean, the likelihood is that the odds would suggest that is actually very unlikely that Arsenal do that, and very unlikely that all these teams go on and win the 7 remaining games. That'd be a bit of a shock if they all did that. And the chances are very, very slim. But you know, in the moment, it's sort of hard to think rationally, and as unlikely as that is, you know, Liverpool have been involved in title races before whereby their title rival, which was obviously City then, had gone on and won every game between, you know, I think City won 10 in a row or 11 in a row, didn't they once? So, you know, it's just that familiar feeling of, is this going to be the slip up that really costs Liverpool? And you know, 7 games to go, anything can kind of happen. And as I say, it'd be a shock if all the teams went on to win every game, but still, you feel like that very much could happen. And if it did, it'd be such a huge disappointment for Liverpool. And also on top of that, the fact that, you know, it's coming in a game where it's against your most hated rivals, and you know, the biggest game in English football still, and a team who were just shocking, really, nowhere near Liverpool's level. 22 points apart from Liverpool in the Premier League table at the moment, and yet they've played each other 3 times this season. And United have won 1 and drawn 2. That it's just poor from Liverpool. It's a really, really bad record. And you know, if they go on and they do win all 7 from here, and Arsenal do the same, then they'll look back at this game as the one where they let it slip, and that's the fear, isn't it? That's why everyone feels so down. I wouldn't, you know, I've seen a lot of attempts to kind of make people feel better about that result, but I just don't think it's right. I think it's a shocker, really, and people are right to feel down about it, because it could be the one that loses the league. I know that's quite a downbeat way to start, but you know, I'm trying to sort of justify how people, or why people might feel down about it. I think it's fully justified, because it's a game that Liverpool should have won and didn't do, and there are consequences for that, or potentially there are.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those. There's plenty to look forward to, but you shouldn't ignore the mood in the room, as it were. And there's a lot of reasons for that at the moment. I mean, it really was I'm trying to say an up and down game, but that would be wrong as well. Maybe I'll probably throw this to you. How do you assess that overall performance in what happened?
Yeah, well, the number one takeaway, obviously, I mean, we'll go into deeper things because there was more to it than this, I think. But the number one takeaway, isn't it, is that the finishing was terrible. And if Liverpool had taken the chances, or the final pass had been better, and not just the finishing, but the final pass in a lot of promising moments had been slightly better, they would have won that game, 5-2. It maybe even more with the ease with which they were getting at Manchester United's defence. So that is the number one reason for the result. There's no doubt about that. But there were other elements I kind of didn't quite like. I didn't really like what was going on in midfield a lot of the time. I thought they continually lost battles there, and you can say, okay, well, that would have been absolutely irrelevant if Liverpool could have finished their dinner, and that is 100% true. But I think in these games specifically, and because it's at Old Trafford as well, and Liverpool have got experience of this, not just from down the years at Old Trafford or what it was like when Manchester United were really good and used to come to Anfield and struggle sometimes. But they got experience from 3 weeks ago. If you give the crowd there any encouragement, they will latch onto it, and it will get the team going, and they'll have these 5-minute spells where they're a little bit dangerous. And I think as much the finishing was, like I say, 100% the number one reason. But I thought secondary to that was just a failure to win battles in midfield and continually giving encouragement, giving United opportunities to at least get on the counter. Moments where it should have just been snuffed out completely, and Liverpool could have. And I thought even in the best moments when Liverpool was so dominant, they were never really penning United in like they do to teams who are weaker than them. There was always that moment where they get it away to Rashford on the left-hand side, and Liverpool would have to sort it out there, but or there was 50-50 in midfield and they lose it or they get beat. I mean, there was a statistic I pulled out and I was doing my YouTube video yesterday of the starting midfield three for Liverpool contested 24 duels and only won 8 of them. So United are coming out on top in 2/3 of the duels in the centre of the park, and that is not. That's why they were constantly encouraged. It's why they always felt they were in the game, even when Liverpool were taking 15 shots to their 0 in the first half. You still felt like United were in it. That was why everyone was panicking a little bit at half time, because there was something there for United to sort of grasp onto. And they thought, if we keep winning these duels like this, one's going to fall for us. We'll get a goal on the counter. Obviously, the way they give it up is a horrendous mistake. But I thought, as much as the finishing is absolutely the cause, I just didn't like what was going on there in the central midfield. And I've wondered out loud before whether that's whether one of the reasons that the Klopp teams have kind of struggled at Old Trafford is that because the pitch is massive, they can't get the compactness, the pressing distance is too big. And I do wonder if that's something that causes an issue for them. But whatever the reason for it, that's just me sort of thinking out loud. It was definitely a theme of yesterday, losing battles in there. And the one player I will say actually did okay in there was McAllister, because of the 8 duels that he won out of those 24. McAllister was 5 of them. So he actually did okay. He won 5 out of his 10, I think, which is not bad. You want to be around 50% or just above if you're having a great game. So that for me was, like I say, as much as the finishing, a really disappointing element of the performance, and one that Liverpool should have really learned from in the FA Cup game, but just absolutely didn't, to be honest.
Did you subscribe to that? I mean, 1-0 at half time, the whole thing, as everyone, I think even United fans watching were like, how are they still in this? How are we not killed this off? And there was always that fear, like lurking back to the FA Cup encounter. Did you subscribe to that? Or do you think you're like, no, Liverpool should just put the fort? You expected them to take control at some point that just never really happened or came to fruition?
Yeah, I was a little bit more relaxed about it on the basis that I thought one of the biggest factors in the FA Cup game was that Liverpool's legs went after about 75 minutes. That was a big issue for them. Because the schedule had been so heavy in the build-up in comparison to United's. I think that made a massive difference. So I was a bit more sort of, relaxed about it, thought that Liverpool would go on and get a second at some point. But I knew, you always felt until they got that second, I wouldn't be fully convinced that they were going to go on and win. I think if they took any of those chances that they had after going 1-0 up, the game would have been completely gone. I don't think United would have got anywhere near it, and Liverpool would have relaxed a bit more, played a bit more football, probably would have started winning the duels a bit more because they were a bit less panicky around it. But until you get that second goal, it's never done, and Liverpool just kept United alive, didn't they? And then got punished and just got to take your chances as much. There's been games I've seen Liverpool win 4 or 5-0 sometimes where I haven't actually thought they've played quite well, but they've scored at the right times. I mean, I always think that was kind of a bit of a theme for me in like the 13-14 season, where Liverpool were never really dominant in games, but they just kept scoring at the right times and just would stay. And then all of a sudden you'd be 4-0 up and they'd be like, wow, we've absolutely dominated, but not really. But they were just really good at taking the chances. Whereas like this team can be dominant at periods, just don't take the chances. And that, like I say, you always keep United alive, particularly when they've got a home crowd behind them that can be really, really loud and can affect the game in a similar way to Anfield. And that's what we saw. It's just, the whole. It's funny actually. I saw a piece that James Pearce had written in the build up to the game that came up on my Twitter timeline today, and it was like the lessons Liverpool must learn from their FA Cup game, the FA Cup visit to United. And it was like no silly errors, must take the chances, must more control in midfield. And it was like it was basically a tick list of all the things they ended up not doing, all the lessons they didn't learn. I thought it was a really sort of insightful look at what they should have learned from that FA Cup game and didn't do. And I thought it was kind of interesting to see that today in the aftermath of the result they actually got. It was, they didn't learn the lessons. They didn't do the things they needed to do. And that's why they didn't win.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue with any of that. I mean, trying to look for a few positive. Did you have a man of the match? Did you have anyone that really, and maybe it's easy to ask pass marks, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought McAllister was good. I thought every time he got the ball, Liverpool looked better and really, really dangerous. And to be honest, I don't think, defensively, I don't think there were a lot of issues there either. Quansah gives the goal away, but I thought he was really good and defended well and did everything outside of that pretty well. And Liverpool were quite solid in those areas. But it was just, like I say, just everyone in the front three probably didn't get a pass mark, thought were quite poor, really. And that was basically the summary of Liverpool's problems. As I said, that and the midfield not winning the duels, I thought, Endo and Szoboszlai didn't really sort of do it for me. And that's both on both sides of the ball, really. I think, Endo dips under 80% in his pass completion. Szoboszlai had all those opportunities, didn't get the final ball right. He misses two big chances. So, yeah, I thought basically the back four and Kelleher, no real blame you could put from them on them outside of Quansah's mistake, which still took an unbelievable finish, by the way. It's just the front three and sort of 2/3 of the midfield just weren't very good as well, and that sort of what cost Liverpool, I think.
Yeah, ultimately, if half your team, 5 players, don't really play up to scratch, it's going to be a difficult game, isn't it? Really, I mean. The forwards, because it seems unreal we're almost saying this, because you look at their individual numbers, how many are into double figures, the goals, the assists, the contributions, the things that we talk about each week. It does seem to be coming like this game, Sheffield United, Brighton, that we're talking about, the numbers, the shots, and the wastefulness, that's the word that keeps coming up. It's not really mattered until yesterday, where it felt like everything. Is this now in concern territory for you?
I think what it is with Liverpool's forward line is that they've tried to collect sort of they've got a collection of kind of different profiles. So I've always said about Diaz, I don't think he's ever going to be an absolute killer because I think he's more of a midfielder than a forward. I mean, he scored yesterday and he's on a decent little run of scoring actually, so maybe shouldn't be singling him out. But I think you did see in moments that, he isn't necessarily a killer like Sadio Mane in the box. Núñez, we know there's that inconsistency there with his finishing from time to time, and I think he's always going to be high volume chances to score a high volume of goals. I think it's always going to be that way with him. He's never going to be one chance, one goal kind of striker. And it's fine to have players like that, by the way, because look at Núñez in particular. He gets a lot of shots, so that's a characteristic he's got in his profile. And if you get a lot of shots, then it doesn't matter that you're not absolutely the deadliest finisher in world football. That's kind of fine, but obviously in these tight games it can cost you. And I mean, Salah's finishing, he had a lot of shots yesterday to only score the penalty, and I think again, I can't really criticise him because he is usually deadly. That's just one of those things. So if he's having an off day in terms of his finishing, Núñez is having a so-so day and he's capable of doing that. Diaz isn't a killer. And then you don't have Jota fit as well, who Jota sort of elevates to 5 for me. We spoke after the Brentford game when he got injured about how much of a disaster that was. And I actually think I think if I said it in the podcast, or I definitely tweeted it at least, that I thought that could be an injury that costs Liverpool the title if it's a bad one. And obviously he's back soon, so that's great. And they got kind of fortunate with that. But if his season was over, I think that would have been even more costly. But I think you saw yesterday, he is a killer. He's an absolute, like, he's ruthless in the box. And he, even if it's scruffy, he will get the ball in the back of the net or will tee someone else for a tap in. And I just think they absolutely missed that profile yesterday. I think in a lot of games recently, you've just thought if Jota was on the pitch here, Liverpool would have been banging them in. He's just different to everybody else in that regard. He's possibly even a better finisher than Salah, I would say, and his ability to sort of get chances as well. So, yeah, he's been a big miss. I mean, the hope is that he comes back for these last 7 games and can have a big influence and Liverpool win all 7 and that wins them the title. But obviously, if he comes back and it proves to be too late because Arsenal go on and win their 7 anyway, then you can maybe look at that Jota injury as sort of a key moment in Liverpool's title race, really.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, it's just crazy, as you say, that all 3 forwards just so wasteful. That's the word, isn't it? Again, yesterday. I mean, McAllister as well, we talked about him. He does seem to be, it seems a strong statement because we always keep talking about other players coming back around him and all this. But again, it did feel like for large periods, he was carrying that midfield again, didn't it, yesterday?
Yeah, as I say, I just honestly, it's almost like the sort of Old Trafford pitch causes an issue with how Liverpool set up in midfield. It just didn't feel tight. They just weren't winning the battles in there. I mean, Endo has been great for Liverpool so far this season, but I think that's two of the Old Trafford games really where he's not been very good. So it almost makes me. That's why I sort of almost go with the side that it's the pitch more than anything else. I'm not sure what to say or whether overall by the occasion, but that hasn't really been his style at all. He's done really, really well. And Szoboszlai, I think he's a very young player, so can blow a bit hot and cold. Can't he? He's got a bit of a tendency actually to not particularly do too well in terms of winning ground duels. Statistically speaking, that sort of is a bit of a theme with him. But I mean, that kind of wouldn't matter if he'd have shown a little bit more care in the final third yesterday. Just took one of those chances, or the final pass had been slightly better. And just thought he's a little bit wasteful. But again, he's a young player. I don't want to be too hugely critical of him because I think there's more to come from him, and we see some of the upsides a lot of the time. Also, it's possible that we're going to see some of the downsides. And I thought we saw a little bit of that from him yesterday. But McAllister's the key, isn't he? He's just been unbelievable in the last few months in particular. He's really sort of kicked on since Endo's come back, and he's the dominant force of Liverpool really in terms of probably the most influential player that they've got at the moment in terms of he just makes everything tick. And I thought, it's a shame really that he played so well and it couldn't turn that into Liverpool being completely dominant because he was let down by a few people around him. But I think, again, he's going to be massive over this next 7 games. And if Liverpool are going to win all 7, then I think McAllister's going to have to play very, very... He's going to have to keep up this form because he's just massive for them on both sides of the ball. And he showed that yesterday.
Yeah, even in there, still felt like the key player or one of the key players that way. And I mean, it's right to talk about it because, as you say, you can't avoid the fact that Jarell Quansah, it was a horrendous error that, you can't dress that up in any way. How did you feel, though, the overall performance from Quansah in that back line and Conor Bradley as well? Because, again, he went with the 2 younger players, didn't he? Centre back and right back. And would have been a few looks that right side. We'll get on to Konate's situation later. But the 2 kids, how did you think they got on?
I I thought they did okay. I mean, like I say, we've got to take the error out of it in terms of judging an overall performance. I just think, Quansah, you can't get away from the fact that error was a crucial contribution in the match, and that sort of downgrades his performance. It just does. You can't. There's nothing you can say about that. I mean, it's the first real bad error that he's made since he's come into the team. He's a young kid. I'm sure he'll learn from that one and not play a blind pass like he did in a situation like that, even when Liverpool are so dominant in that moment in the game. So he'll learn from that. But I thought his overall performance is pretty decent. What I would say about Quansah is I was surprised by the Konate call. I mean, if he was fit to be on the bench, then I imagine he was fit to start. It's Liverpool don't take the risk there. It just surprises me that he picked him. And I think one thing I would say about Quansah is he's not as quick off the mark as Konate. Yeah. I've seen from time to time actually when Quansah gets running, he is actually quite quick once he gets going, but he's not quick off in it, like the start of his sprint as Konate. And I think some of the encouragement that United were getting in some of those moments where they popped it over for Rashford down that left hand side and Bradley was further up the pitch. I think Konate would have been more aggressive in snuffing some of those out. And I think if you do that, United don't get the encouragement of having the ball, being able to pass it back around and feeling like they've got something out of the counter attack, even if it doesn't sort of end in a goal or anything. And I just surprised by that call. And I think as good as Quansah's being, Konate is easily Liverpool's second best centre half. And I just surprised. And as I say, I think his pace there was just moments where Quansah, he couldn't be aggressive because he thought if Rashford knocks it here, I'm out of the game, I'm gone. I'm not as quick off the mark as he is, whereas Konate definitely is. So I think it's fair to say, as well as Quansah played, I think it's fair to say that selection call I didn't necessarily agree with, but I don't think Quansah did poorly at all. And I thought Bradley was fine as well in terms of, that a bit rash getting that yellow card really early, but did cope really well with that, won his duels pretty well. He did okay on that side of things. Would have liked to see more from him on the attacking side of things on the ball, but again, Liverpool were creating a lot of chances and not putting them away, and Bradley probably didn't need to be that influential in the attacking side of things. So it didn't really matter. He just needed to do his job as a fullback, and I thought he did. So no qualms really with those two. Just kind of surprised that he didn't go with Konate, and I do wonder whether that would have just given Liverpool that little extra edge to be more aggressive in stopping United's counters, and then they could have been a little bit more dominant than they even were already. But I mean, we're possibly splitting hairs saying that really because, like I said, I didn't think Quansah did badly at all, and I thought Bradley did quite well as well.
Yeah, indeed. And he's a young centre half. He was going to make a mistake at some point. That's the name of the game, especially in that position. Liverpool still had more than enough to do there, no doubts about it. And
what a finish as well, you've got to say. The way he strikes across that, it's unbelievable. I don't think any other United player would have probably even tried it in that position, even with Kelleher off his line. And the way he strikes across it, perfect finish. Sometimes you can just get away with those errors. And United, if it had fell to anyone else, I think they'd been looking to get people to support them in a counter attack rather than just having a go. So annoying, it got punished like that. But Quansah will absolutely learn from that. And I think he's been so good this season. And it's just a shame it's come in such a big game.
Yeah, thank God in a way Kelleher didn't save us. We'll be looking at something a bit worse than a suspension in that way. So yeah, try and look at the positives. And I think the one positive that people are really looking at, and I suppose I'm going to ask it in terms of this game, but is it changed anything? Harvey Elliott comes on again, changes the game again. Just the way everyone's kind of looking in that middle area a bit, aside from McAllister. Yesterday, did it even strengthen his claims even more for Harvey Elliott to say, like, listen, I should be a starter in here at the moment?
Yeah, particularly when Szoboszlai sort of has a so-so game in that way. Harvey Elliott will maybe make the claim that he should be starting. And I always think it's so crazy that he came on the pitch and seemed to understand more than any other Liverpool player what the job was when you're up against United. So they wanted to sit in deep and make it really, really difficult. So he's got this great mix. He's so intelligent, like a great mix of patience and impatience at the right time. So it's pass, open him up, go, then speed the game up. And he always seems to make that judgment at the right time. He was really, really good at that in a way that a lot of Liverpool players weren't yesterday. And just knowing when to play the pass, it was just, and even knowing when to, I mean, he completes 3 out of 3 long balls. He's not on the pitch that long, but I think that sort of showed that he was He knew when the switch was on, when that was the right call. He kept doing that, moving United around, and Liverpool looked so much more dangerous with him on the pitch. And I do wonder, he seems sometimes in the difference between him and Szoboszlai is he is more that sort of, I don't know what the way to put it, but kind of a tiki-taka type whereas Szoboszlai is very much power, pace, getting there, arriving late. Elliott's got that touch more craft about his game. And maybe that's what Liverpool needed a bit more yesterday. And as I say, when he came on, he changed it because I just thought he just knew that we move United around, don't play the pass too early. Liverpool were trying to force it a lot of times. He always played the pass at the right time, and that's why Liverpool looked so much more dangerous when he came on. And obviously, he wins the penalty. He has a shot at the end that he doesn't quite catch, but he's in the position for it. And yeah, I just thought he was really, really good when he came on. And I do wonder whether he's going to get a few more starts between now and the end of the season. It's a tough one because Szoboszlai's really good and the energy he brings in there and that physicality as well is really helpful. And the height from defending set pieces as well. And Szoboszlai's quicker and stronger than him. And that maybe counts against him a little bit in some games. But I think he's got a big role to play in that. I'd like to see him, in the Europa League, maybe if particularly home games where Liverpool are going to have a lot of the ball. I think there's real good opportunities for him there to maybe start. And I do want to see a little bit of rotation in that because I want to see, I want to see the best fresh version of Liverpool you can see in the Premier League. I think they have to win these next 7 games. So Elliott's a really important option. Whether that is to come in now to start in Premier League games between now and the end of the season, maybe not. But he's got a really, really important role to play, and I want to see a lot of him because I just think his intelligence. He just showed it yesterday. It was off the scale. In comparison to how his teammates had played, he just played with a brain, and it was really, really obvious.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's so hard because of he has looked different when he started compared to where he comes on. Like you said, he's got that game intelligence. Seems to have a brain at times that only McAllister has in that middle of the park. A lot of the rest is physicality, power. Curtis Jones probably a different type, but does have that game intelligence as well. You just wonder, is it always going to be a sort of the impact? But either way, we want to see a lot of Harvey Elliott. We feel he could be really important from now till the end of the season. So you want him to keep that form going, don't you?
Yeah, and he's only 21 as well, so I wouldn't be kind of, from his perspective, worried about being, I'm the super sub at the moment. I mean, that's a great position to be in at 21. A club like Liverpool, when you play in the sort of attacking midfield role or one of the attacking spots. So he's in a really, really good position. And there's going to be opportunities for him between now and the end of the season, not just as a sub, but hopefully as a starter as well, like I say. And I think, I hope he does get them. And I think if he does, he will take them because he's just been absolutely quality when he's come on. And I think, Liverpool are probably going to need him late in some Premier League games as well to change things again, to score late winners. So, hopefully he can keep it up because he's been fantastic this season. I think it's been a big step forward for him.
Yeah, no doubts about it at all. And obviously he wins the penalty as well yesterday. I mean, we're going back to last week. We did say last week, and I think it was right at the time, Liverpool were favourites based on what's happened last week. And Christ knows what the supercomputer is predicting odds-wise now. But with that change, City and Arsenal won, we drew. How do you see the overall picture now?
Yeah, I think it's swung back a little bit now. I'd still, I think it maybe makes City favourites now. I still with Arsenal, there's question to be answered, isn't there, over how they cope with the schedule, the pressure that's going to come on them now. Can they do it as a team that hasn't won a major honour together? So that's the big ask for them now. And for that reason, with City being so close, I think it makes them favourites and Liverpool and Arsenal maybe sort of level pegging really at the moment. But I do think, the one positive you can maybe take from yesterday is that Liverpool do get the point and it keeps them ahead of Manchester City. That feels like a good position to be in because they're the big threat, the big worry to me, as much as Arsenal are flying and look absolutely brilliant. I still think there's some drop points in there for them somewhere, or I certainly hope so anyway. And I think to be 1 point ahead of City and not be worrying about goal difference to them is a good thing. And kind of, I think, but my view is, I think Liverpool are probably going to have to win all 7 to win the league from here. And if you do that and miss out, you'd be absolutely devastated. But that's got to be the aim, hasn't it? Is to win all 7 and see where that takes you.
I think, to be fair as well, in the context of everything, when you think back to last campaign, and maybe it seems a positive spin, but if someone would tell you we're a point ahead of City with 7 to go, but the deal is you've got to win all 7 to win the league. You'd have snapped the hand off for that, wouldn't you? Especially now at this, even at the start of this season, now the way things were going, you would have taken that in a heartbeat, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, if someone had offered you that even later in the season when it's in a situation where Liverpool have got all the injuries they had, in the worst moments of that injury crisis, you would have just thought there's no chance that this is sustainable. Particularly around that, I think that Brentford game, did it cost them 3 or 4 players? I think they lost in that one game, and they're just thinking there's no chance that Liverpool are going to be able to sustain this if this keeps happening, and they somehow have. So I think that's a major positive with the injuries. The one thing I don't quite get on board with this idea that Liverpool have done this midfield rebuild. I don't think that for me is a factor. Liverpool only had to do a midfield rebuild because they put off signing midfielders for a couple of seasons. That's their own fault, really. And also, once you get past sort of a couple of months into the season, everybody should be settled in and know the role and be ready to be an important player. So I don't buy that as one of the reasons. But I think very much with, in terms of recovery from last season, the injuries they've had this season, it's been a great effort to get in this position. But I think probably no excuses now in terms of they've probably got to go 7 from 7. And I think if they do that, they give themselves an unbelievable chance to win it. I'd be quite shocked if they don't win it, if they win 7 from 7. And that has got to be the aim from here on in.
Do you think, because I suppose we're going to need every single bit of his lifting ability and his nous, it feels. What do you think Jurgen Klopp will be saying, whether it be publicly or privately? Do you think it will just be like, let's stay calm, we win these games? Do you think that'll be the message?
Just got to be, hasn't it? There's nothing they can do outside of winning their own games. That would have been the aim going into yesterday, is just try and get the 3 points on board and see where that leaves you, and just keep doing that game to game and keep winning. And yeah, they just don't have any other choice but to do that. They can't think about Arsenal or Manchester City, because as soon as they do that, you start dropping points yourself anyway. It's just about winning, isn't it? I really do get the sense from being around professional footballers that they do live by that mantra of game to game. I know it's a cliche, but it's genuinely just true, because what's the point in looking any further forward or thinking about where Arsenal might drop points or where City? It's just not worth thinking about, because you really, really have to do your own job, and then the rest will look after itself. And what will happen for Arsenal or what will happen for City will happen. You've no control over that. So I think that's very much the message you'll be reiterating to the players. And I think, it's enough experience in that dressing room to know that that's the score as well. So, no worries about how they approach these coming games.
Yeah, and they've been here before. They're well in it. And what will be, I suppose, will be till the end of the season.
Just one more point I want to make on the game as well, actually. Got into a bit of a sort of thingy on Twitter in the build-up to this game, all the discussion about the appointment of the referee. No one will talk about it now that the referee was great. Absolutely fine performance. I can't remember a decision that I saw that I disagreed with. Got the penalty right, which is the big call of the match, and late in the game was brave enough to give it at Old Trafford. I know people have tried to cast doubt on that, by the way, since, and it's an absolute nailed-on penalty. Anyone who's ever watched football knows that's a penalty. And I just thought the ref was great, and no one will ever say it, despite making all the fuss in the build-up. And if he'd have made a mistake or something would have gone wrong, no one would have shut up about it. No one ever mentions when the ref has a decent game. And I just think, we should all endeavour to maybe do that sometimes, because, such a fuss got made of his appointment. Oh, he's a mank, he's all this. Just nonsense. And I thought the ref was genuinely great. I can't think off the top of my head of a call that I thought was a wrong one, or he completely messed up. And I thought, in a tough environment, which those games always are, I think he got everything spot on. And we should always try and mention it if we can when they do well, because we're always ready to go on about how poor they were, like David Coote in Liverpool's last game before that. So,
hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.